Hey, hey, hey. Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, gang, and welcome back to the Duct Tape Studios, the rather chilly Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by, obviously enough, thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. So welcome aboard, everyone. Tonight is Thursday, January 29th, 2026, and this is live stream 1281. If you're not overly familiar with the show, let me point out, super casual around here. We just normally hang out talking about the latest in tabletop role-playing game news, and then we will take a peek at a tabletop role-playing game release. Every once in a while, we'll tackle some board games or maybe get involved with a topic related to the hobby or even do an AMA from time to time. But for the most part, we're usually talking about role-playing games. So, of course, keep in mind, we're just having fun. We're not invested in anything like rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. And today, we are going to actually dive on in. We're going to be taking a first look at Level Up Advanced 5th Edition Monstrous Menagerie Volume 2, Hordes and Heroes from EN Publishing. That is what we're taking a peek at tonight. If you are tuning in for the live first look, do want to mention, we always tackle the tabletop gaming news first. So it'll probably be 35 maybe 40 minutes or so before we jump on into that first look. So if you're watching live, just kick back, put your feet up, relax. I'm sure it's been a long day. And if you are watching this after the fact, about 30 minutes or more after the stream has ended, you'll find there will be timestamps. So they will be in the show notes. And of course, depending on the device you might be watching this on, could be right there in the timeline of the video. So if you want to skip on past the role-playing game news, you certainly can and jump right on into the first look. But if you're watching live, well, you're hanging with the gang. That's how it works. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more you are not going to find here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. And of course, because this is a live stream, there is chat available. Now, you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least an hour before you can take part in chat. But if you check off that box and you want to say howdy, maybe you got a question, a comment, by all means, chime in. I will do my absolute best to respond. First out the gate tonight is Kevin King. We also have Warren Davidson, the Madman, one of our chat moderators, is hanging with us tonight. He was not with us last night because it was game night. Yeah, it must be nice. Get the game with the gang every couple of weeks, boy, I tell you. Mike is with us, as is Semper Buffo, Cthulhu, Pete Strakulich, Kevin R. Smith, Kathy Evans, Mark Hawkswell is also joining us, and W. Forge. I think I've said hello to everyone to this point. So welcome aboard, everybody. It looks like you got a nice chat off and running already. I'll also take a guess that the lovely and talented Miss Sarah D., another of our chat moderators, might be lurking in the shadows, keeping an eye on things, keeping everybody in line. Or maybe not. Maybe she's got something exciting to do. I don't know. Madman says it was definitely a fun game night last night. Yeah, sure. Just rub it in. Hey, we had fun last night. We had a interesting show. We took a peek at the Player's Guide 2 for Tales of the Valiant and, obviously enough, Dungeons and Dragons and other 5e role-playing games out there. So that was what we tackled last night from our friends over at Kobold Press. So yeah, had a fun show. That went pretty well. All right, so we got a lot of news tonight. We got a big show. So let's dive right on in, because currently up for crowdfunding for Tales of the Valiant, speaking of Tales of the Valiant, and Dungeons and Dragons, is Night Hunters and Night Terrors. Here's the scoop from Kobold Press. What's in Night Hunters? 5 supernatural subclasses, including the Nemesis Fighter, the Curse Breaker Cleric, and a sorcerer with cursed ancestral power. 3 monstrous lineages witness the return of the fan favorite Darakul, and 2 never-before-seen options, the Grave Rot, constructs stitched from the flesh of the dead, and the Hexen, beings born of insidious hag magic. 5 horrible heritages, including the Survivor heritage, one of the few that defied the odds, and the Sepulchral heritage, born into a world dominated by death. Also 5 Gothic backgrounds. Face the night with backgrounds using classic horror tropes, including the skills of a physician, the profane knowledge of an occultist, and the unflappable might of a monster hunter. There's clear guidance and prompts for horror-based backstories so each player can craft characters perfectly tuned to the chills of a horror-themed campaign. Play to genre tropes and quickly spin up flawed heroes ripe for redemption. You'll find fabled magic items, spells, and rituals. Night Hunters includes an arsenal of new magic items, including fabled items like the Witchlight Lantern and the Bow of Blackfire, plus new spells and rituals to battle the creatures of darkness. Night Hunters includes GM tools as well, in order to help you craft bone-chilling adventures, terrifying foes, and grim lands desperately in need of heroes, including all-new Shadow Token system, which embraces a new mechanic to tempt players with peril in exchange for rewards. Whisper promises of power and draw them into darkened rooms, villainous schemes, and revelations from which there is no turning back. Press the shiny red button, the cherry red button. Yeah, these days I think that's a fairly deep cut. The dread mechanic is expanded. Supercharge the dread system from the Game Master's Guide with expanded short and long-term effects, including all new tables tailored to your campaign's particular brand of horror, plus a packed crypt of options, including the Ghost Story Generator, a D100 table of haunting manifestations, a Tragic Ways to Die table for ghostly origins, and hooks using Forbidden Love Beyond the Grave, plus 60 new curses, diseases, and hazards. Night Hunters includes 13 terrifying villains designed to push heroic hunters to their breaking point. This array of monstrous foes includes a range of difficulties and themes, so you can match your party level and the exact genre of horror that best suits your campaign. Each villain comes with a suite of custom tools and mechanics, everything you need to cast them as the main antagonist of your next adventure. This includes detailed schemes, layer actions, unique minion stats, spells, items, and special rewards for hunters. Night Terrors, remember there's 2 books here. Strangely enough, Kobold Press doesn't share a ton of information about Night Terrors, but it does feature a dozen dark adventures built to showcase the horror of Night Hunters, challenging players and GMs alike with bloodthirsty cults, dangerous rituals, undead courts, forbidden journeys into hell, and kingdoms consumed by crawling doom. Each tale a nightmare waiting just beyond the firelight. There is a quick, it's about a minute in length, Kickstarter video. So let's take a peek.
In the shadows, something stirs, and the hunters rise to meet it. Discover new heroes of horror with cursed bloodlines, gothic callings, and powers forged in darkness in Night Hunters from Kobold Press. With new subclasses, monstrous lineages, and haunted origins, your story begins where the nightmares thrive. For game masters, tools of terror, including the new dark dice mechanic, dreadful diseases, haunting hazards, and tables to weave chilling tales. Turn every session into a tale of dread, danger, and finding hope in the darkest places. 13 villains, each with their own schemes, minions, and lairs, wait for the hunter, unprepared. Will you hunt the night, or be consumed by it?
The Kickstarter project is nearing the 400% funding mark. You can reserve copies of both books in print. They are both hardcovers, as far as I understand, for a pledge of approximately $81. If you want to reserve copies of just the PDFs, you can do so for a pledge of approximately $51 through February 13th. Expected turnaround on the fulfillment is pretty quick. It is this July. Nice. Looks pretty interesting. There's been a lot cooking with Kobold Press. They've got a couple of new short adventures for Tales of the Valiant. Of course, the Player's Guide 2, which we looked at last night, is hitting stores. And of course, this is now up for crowdfunding. Nice. Pretty nice. So there's a discussion going on in chat about s'mores. Warren Davidson was asking, what are they? S'mores, s'mores, s'mores. How do you like me? How do you like me? I know I threw everybody off with that last night with the more. Was that Tuesday? It was this week. Everybody was expecting me to go in the Billy Idol direction, and I went in the, I think it was Andrea True. I think that was the singer's name. She was also a porn actress in the 70s at the same time. So I had nothing to do with that. I was just a child. Anywho. But yes, so there is the discussion. Kevin King has pointed out it's graham cracker, chocolate, and marshmallow. So normally what you do, you take a couple of graham crackers, you put a big marshmallow in the middle of it and a piece of like Hershey's chocolate, and you actually put it over usually it's supposed to be a campfire, and then you just kind of toast it a little bit and go from there. I'll be very honest, I have not had a s'more in probably 45 years. So, I mean, you can make them at home. Sure, you could probably put them in the oven. But yeah, so then Warren asks, what's a graham cracker? So yes, there you go. Kevin King is laying it all out there. So there you go. It's a wheat cracker made with honey and cinnamon. Some are better than others. Keith Ula points out that it was the Andrea True connection. There we go. All right. And yes, I did beat Keith Ulu to that little porn actress tidbit. Yes. Moonrise Long, pre-orders have begun for Warhammer 40,000 Wrath and Glory Adventures in Gilead from Cubicle 7 Games. And here's the latest. Amidst the crumbling imperial ruins and war-ravaged wastes of the Gilead system, dangerous heretics, sinister Xenos, and malevolent plots lurk in every shadow. Adventures in Gilead is a thrilling collection of exciting adventure scenarios and character frameworks for Warhammer 40,000 roleplay Wrath and Glory. Players are plunged straight into the intrigue, peril, and danger that define life in the Gilead system, from the introductory Reign of Mercy through to the dark machinations of the Chaos Lord Malequence. Game masters will find Adventures in Gilead to be an indispensable tool, bursting with ready-to-play adventure scenarios, detailed character frameworks, and countless plot hooks to help build further campaigns and bring the Gilead system to life. From rampaging orcs to chaos warbands, Adventures in Gilead is packed with gripping adventures and detailed character frameworks. How many times are they going to tell us about the detailed character frameworks? That's the third time. Inside, you're going to find Pilgrims of the Wastes, face-down savage orc commandos, duplicitous Eldari and their insidious machinations, and a sect of the Adeptus Ministorum so fanatical their beliefs border on heresy. Heresy, I say. All while attempting to navigate the vicious ash storms and rampaging megafauna of Nathrius. Wretches of the Writ, a grim collection of traitorous, chaos-aligned characters, locations, and artifacts. Learn of the Dark Apostle Malequence and his vile presence within the Gilead system and his plans to seize it in the name of the Dark Gods. Shards of Ulkari negotiate the cutthroat politics of the Corsair courts, rival warbands, Drukari hunters, Asuryani envoys, and nefarious Imperial rogue traders in this Eldari-focused adventure. Then we've got Gushiva's Commandos. This explosive adventure framework lets you take control of a group of orc commandos as they sabotage defenses, sow chaos and confusion, and prepare to unleash destruction upon an Imperial hive city in preparation for the arrival of a full-blown war. Whether you're weaving a single desperate mission into an existing campaign or creating an epic chronicle of survival in the Emperor's name, Adventures in Gilead brings the thunderous war zones and awe-inspiring action of the Gilead system to life. This 144-page hardcover with PDF can be pre-ordered for $39.99. I do believe they are expecting to ship Q3. That is what I believe they're shooting for. But of course, I should also point out the PDF is available right now. If you want to score that, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $19.99. So even though we've got Imperium Maledictum, Wrath and Glory continues to get content out there. Warren Davidson's asking, which system do people prefer, Imperium Maledictum or Wrath and Glory? The way I have run across it to this point, the players out there who want to take on the roles of a bit more powerful characters, like even like Space Marines, tend to gravitate towards Wrath and Glory, although there are various tiers of adventures. So like tier 1 is like the low power player characters in that. Imperium Maledictum, the player characters tend to be less powerful. It's more boots on the ground. A lot more political machinations going on. So if you're into more, I would say, personal stories, you probably want to go Imperium Maledictum. Just the way I see it for the most part. Agile Monk is with us tonight. I do see that Miss Sarah D is with us as well. I see Danny W. Gable also popped on in. I think I've said hello to everybody. I hope you brought enough for everyone. Chewing gum, eh? All right. On to our next news piece. There's a new adventure for the second edition of Scion, which is landed from Onyx Path Publishing. I've got the lowdown on war games. The Pol Mamakaya looms. Titans, for the first time, will play in the games. The future of warfare in the world hangs in the balance. Will they play fair or destroy the games? It comes in cycles, never at a set time, but every so often. Pol Mamakaya is called, and the face of warfare and conflict changes. War gods from any and all pantheons send their scions in to compete, and to the winner goes the spoils. But this time, it's not just for them alone. As the second Titanomachy? I think that's what it is. Titanomachy looms ever closer. Scions of Titans throw their hat into the ring as well. So the question remains, will they play by the rules for a shot at the glory of shaping what war looks like for, at the very least, the next generation? Or will they destroy the Polmamkaya altogether? War Games is an adventure for titanic scions of hero and demigod levels of play, in which the players will have the choice between proving that titanic scions have a place in the Polmamkaya. How many times are going to throw that word out there? And have a chance to win it, or will ally with other titanic scions to destroy this most recent iteration of the institution. Either choice the band makes will affect the state of the second Titanomachy to come. It also includes story seeds for related adventures at origin and god levels of play, as well as RMCs for Titanic Scions at demigod level. The 48-page softcover with PDF is available over at DriveThruRPG for $18.99. If you want to just grab the PDF, you can certainly do so for $7.99. As Cthulhu points out, I didn't know there'd be so many. Chewing gum, eh? I love at the end of the movie when Harvey Korman jumps into the cab and he's like, get me out of this film, or get me out of this movie. Yeah, yep. Hey, I should point out, there is a 2-part documentary about Mel Brooks. It is currently on HBO. I watched that the other night, and I liked it a lot. I didn't learn a ton. I mean, a lot of the stuff I already knew about Mel Brooks, but it was pretty cool. If you're a fan of Mel Brooks, definitely give it a peek. Kevin King is pointing out that Imperium Maledictum is percentile based. Wrath and Glory uses a different system addition to the different power levels. It's been a while since I peeked at anything for Wrath and Glory. If I remember correctly, Wrath and Glory uses a dice pool system. Could have swore. Then again, of course, I could be absolutely wrong. But I mean, it's been, over a year probably since I, delved into anything Wrath and Glory. And I think last time I looked at something from Wrath or Glory, it was either like an equipment guide or adventure book. So really, mechanics weren't really, forefront of it. All right, moving right along. Now available from Exalted Funeral is the second edition of the Planet 28 Miniatures Rules. And I've got the lowdown. A dark and baroque future. Roll up a warband and start adventuring across a dark and hostile galaxy with Planet 28. This updated set of rules compiles the original Planet 28 rules, Death on the Periphery and Death Machines zines into a single A5 hardback rulebook to provide you with the ultimate narrative skirmish toolbox. Inside this 84-page hardcover you will find the Planet 28 core rules updated and refined, character and warband creation rules, campaign rules, game master rules, solo and co-op play rules, victim creation, yeah, well, actually, I guess they would be victims as you blow them away. Vehicle creation and combat rules, custom weapon creation rules, squad rules for army-sized games, as well as an expanded list of character traits, abilities, and equipment. Designed for narrative skirmish gameplay, Planet 28 allows you to play with the miniatures you want, not just the miniatures you have, with a flexible character creation system, allowing you to create profiles for almost any figure in your collection. The 86-page A5 size hardcover carries an MSRP of $27. I do want to point out it does not come with a PDF. The PDF is not available at this point, as far as I know. Not too shabby. Skirmish level, science fiction action in a dark future. Some more discussion about Warhammer 40K. Matthew Blackwell asks, what is the difference between all the different Warhammer stuff? To me, it's all kind of confusing. Well, of course, we do have the Warhammer Fantasy, and then we have Warhammer 40K. So those are completely different. You know, we'll talk a little bit about this when I wrap up the news. So, because it does confuse people. And I'll be the first to point out, I'm sure I am not, the most well-versed out there either. Final news piece. Candlenaut has released the new science fiction horror solo role-playing game, Monstrosity. Here's what I know. Monstrosity is a solo space horror storytelling game where you wake up on a silent ship that's gone wrong. Systems are failing, corridors are damaged, and you keep finding signs that the crew didn't leave in one piece. I guess they left in pieces? That was me just throwing that in. You're not here to win a fight. You're here to stay alive, scavenge what you can, and figure out what happened before the ship or whatever's in it finishes the job. Mechanically, it's a ship hex crawl. You draw the map as you explore, one hex at a time. Each turn you move, roll what the next location is, mark exits, check the room's condition, and see what you run into. Encounters can be a hazard you must push through, an optional score you can risk going for, a clean find, or a direct move by the monstrosity. Your best progress comes from smart choices, good reads, and using what you've managed to collect, not from winning combat. The whole game runs in 4 acts, so the tension ramps up on purpose. Early on, you're picking up clues and trying to get stable. Later, the ship gets meaner and your margins get thinner, and the monstrosity shows up more often. Each act has a mission to complete. Then you get a short preparation phase where you spend whatever you've earned to craft gear and lock in perks. It's solo, so you don't need a game master. The ship, the events, and the pressure come from the tables. Build the map as you go. Every move adds new rooms, corridors, exits, and problems. Slow dread early, heavy danger late, and a final mission that ends the run throughout the 4 acts. It's fast resolution. You just roll 2d10 for risky actions with clean success with a cost or failure. Gather energy, data, and resources to power your Omni tool, buy perks, and craft gear. There are no fair fights. If you treat the monstrosity like a normal enemy, you'll lose. Survival is the point. The 53-page PDF of Monstrosity is available over at DriveThruRPG for $4.99. Yeehaw! I will mention, I looked, And it says there was no AI used in the creation of Monstrosity. Because I know that cover artwork smacks of AI. So I took a peek because I thought, hey, this looks kind of cool. And it says no AI. I can only go by what people say. Mike says, I see cool stuff like this and it feels more interesting than a $200 to $300 board game on Kickstarter because of all the plastic toys. Yes. There you go. Which, of course, Mike says, well, they do like playing with the minis, but still. I get it. All right. So that is it for the news tonight. Of course, I mentioned DriveThruRPG a few times. Don't forget, the Gaming Gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you're going to go visit DriveThruRPG, Storyteller's Vault, Dungeon Masters Guild, Wargame Vault, any of the various One Bookshelf sites, please stop by thegaminggang.com first. Click on one of our banners. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get 5% of that sale. Much appreciated. Those commissions are much appreciated. So if you like the video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. If you like the video, if you dig the channel, if you find the Gaming Gang to be a valuable resource, hell, if you just like what we do, you can support the outlet in a couple of other ways too. First, by making a one-time donation by way of PayPal. Hell, you can buy me a 2-liter bottle of soda. Ooh, that's lovely. Cheapo diet Walmart soda. Saying that nobody has diet right anymore. It's just RC, and it's like, no, I don't drink soda with sugar. Sorry. And of course, you can also become a monthly member of our Patreon. There are links in the show notes for those. Also down in the show notes, you'll find an invite link to our Discord server. It's absolutely free to sign up. So be sure to hang with the gang over on Discord. And of course, speaking of Patreon, I like to give a shout out of thanks to all our Patreon members during our live shows. So, tip of the cap to Adrian Carpio, Kuval, Kevin R. Smith, Talzek, Sean O'Donnell, Herman Lutman, Gustavo Cavalho, Matt Weiss, Kevin King, Game Cat, RPG Munch, Tier 2 DM, Pete Straklich, Dan Webb, Tessie Trekkie, Agile Monk, and the Madman. There you go. Very nice. Very cool. Thank you very kindly. Mike says, one time I want to see Jeff pick up a tiny teacup just to see who notices. I think everybody would notice. Be like, yeah, I'm having a little espresso. Ray Ardeb is joining us tonight. I believe it might be a first-time visit in chat. Welcome aboard. I don't recognize that nickname. Although it could be another one of these YouTube changed somebody's nickname on them. It's like somebody who hangs out all the time. Okay, so I had mentioned we'll kind of tackle the whole Warhammer thing. So we're going to focus on the role-playing games because I'll be the first to point out, I do not know. Okay, I used to have Warhammer 40K back when it first came out, and I could have swore it was called Space Marine. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so I think the last time I picked up, the last Warhammer 40K that I picked up was 3rd edition. So a while back, it might have been 2nd edition. So, and then I used to play Epic, which were the little 6mm figures and things like that. So as far as role-playing games that are out there actively supported now those are through Cubicle 7 Games, our friends over at Cubicle 7 Games. So we currently have in the fantasy realm, we have Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which dates all the way back to like the 80s. It's the 4th edition. There is a 5th edition that's on the horizon that we know is coming. So we've got that. And that is where the majority of content has been published as far as the fantasy side of Warhammer. We also have Warhammer Soulbound. So it's Warhammer Fantasy Soulbound. Have not seen a lot for that as of late. So that, of course, takes place in a totally different time frame than Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And it's different mechanically. It is also a pretty high power level. So as I was talking about how with the Warhammer 40K Roleplay, Wrath and Glory, those characters, there's different power tiers. So if a player wants to take on the role of, like a Space Marine, Sister of Battle, things like that, they can. Whereas, Imperium Maledictum for Warhammer 40K Roleplay is a far lower, like, power level overall. Anyway, so fantasy, we've got 3 games. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, which is pretty much the standard, or has been the standard. Then we have Soulbound, which, funny enough, Sammy has reviewed Soulbound releases, and at first she was like, I don't know. I don't know anything about this, and it's Games Workshop, and I said, well, give it a peek. And she was like blown away. She was like, wow, I was really pleasantly surprised how good this is. So she actually digs it a lot. Then we have The Old World. That is relatively new. Once again, using a completely different system than either Soulbound or Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. So Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is percentile based with some unique aspects to it. It's a little crunchier than some folks might prefer. And like the success ranks throw people off. But then you've got Soulbound, which is pretty straightforward. It's not super, super crunchy. Oh, The Old World, I haven't really had a chance to take a peek at. I know it's out in PDF. It is arriving. I think the starter set comes out in May. So I don't even think the hardcover books for the core books are out. I think it's still just PDFs. So at some point in time, we'll get a chance to take a peek at it. I just haven't dived into it because they're PDFs right now. And outside of sharing news, I don't cover PDFs. I don't do reviews of PDFs. Okay, so that is our fantasy side. And I want to say The Old World uses a dice pool of 10-sided dice. And you're looking to roll like a 7 or higher for a success. Something along those lines. All right, then we go to our Warhammer 40K. So there we've got 2 role-playing games from Cubicle 7 Games. We have the Warhammer 40K Roleplay Wrath and Glory, which, interestingly enough, was not created by Cubicle 7 Games. It was actually created by Ulysses Spiel. And then Games Workshop did not like the direction that it was being taken in. And there were some other things going on with Ulysses Spiel at the time internally that was causing problems. So they took it away, took the license away, and they gave it to Cubicle 7 Games. And I got to give my friends over at Cubicle 7 Games a lot of credit. because they went and, they picked up the ball and ran with it. You figure they could have been like, whatever. It's not our game. Maybe we'll give it some support, but we've got Imperium Maledictum on the back burner. It's coming in a couple of years. Let's focus on that. Amazingly enough, they have actually done a lot with Wrath and Glory. And then, of course, we got the Imperium Maledictum, where somebody had already pointed out something about how it's got kind of a Lovecraftian vibe. Imperium Maledictum tends to focus on adventures where the player characters are a team investigating something. Now, there could be a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Their patron might be actually working against them. One of the cool aspects of Imperium Maledictum is the players and game master create the group's patron together. And then, of course, we got a lot of different, various different examples of patrons. So that tends to be more of an investigative game, although obviously enough, it's, Warhammer 40K. There's going to be combat in it. Whereas Wrath and Glory is the Gilead system's been cut off from the rest of the galaxy. So you have very strange bedfellows, very strange allies, because it's essentially everybody versus chaos. So you might actually have, the Xenos working with the humans and stuff like that. So Tessie Trekkie points out, Wrath and Glory is very, very action-oriented. Imperium Maledictum hews closer to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. Yes, where like Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, your characters, they can become very heroic, but they do start off as being relatively regular folk. So, yeah. And weirdly enough, all the games have different mechanics. Although Imperium Maledictum and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th edition do share quite a bit of DNA. They are both percentile based. So Tessie Trekkie says, yes, the old world is a D10 dice pool from memory. And they have it pre-ordered. And yes, it's PDF only at the moment. Yeah, I just sent a message to my buddy TS over at Cubicle 7 Games to see what's cooking as far as, because really nothing popping out like physical copies of stuff early in the year. I think March is when they're going to start having some releases, although there's a Dark Tide card game, which I think TS is going to send us to take a peek at. So there you go. And I see that Stephen from Roll for Combat is with us. I did send him an email today. You probably heard that for some strange reason, I don't get emails from Stephen personally for some strange reason. So I shot him an email today to see if I would get a response. I have not taken a peek at my email in probably 5 hours or so. So I will take a peek when I finish up the show tonight. Danny says they've got a boatload of Britannians. Is it Bretonians? Britannians and lizard men from years ago. Yes. Warren Davidson says Old World's due out in print first quarter 2026. Yeah, I think it's March. I think that's what TS was saying. I think the starter set's going to hit at the same time the core books come out. Do you know? All right. So tonight we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a peek at Level Up A5E Monstrous Menagerie II Hordes Heroes from EN Publishing. But first, I think it's time for a brief intermission.
my mother for Valentine's Day? What is it? It's a love bug. Ding, ding, ding. It's cute. Yeah, and when you open it up, it's filled with dozens of Tootsie Roll midgies. That's great. Mothers like Tootsie Rolls. And when she's finished all her Tootsie Rolls, she can use it as a wall decoration. Or collect them and make a mobile. Hey, there's only one Tootsie Roll left for your mother. Don't worry. I think she's giving me a love bug for Valentine's Day, too.
12 different love bugs filled with Tootsie Rolls. Now at stores everywhere.
It's Woolworth's Stereo Spectacular 71, a fantastic once-a-year sale of albums, LPs, tapes, everything in stereo, unbelievably low priced. Woolworth's Stereo Spectacular has top stereo LPs, the biggest hits just off the charts for only $1.57. Famous labels, favorite stars, Herb Alpert, Petula Clark, The Association, Canned Heat, many more for only $1.57. And another fabulous group of LPs on sale for just 87 cents. Jack Jones, The Beach Boys, Guess Who, and more. And for children, the original cast album of Sesame Street, only 87 cents. Woolworth Stereo Spectacular has big savings on 8-track stereo cartridges. Dionne Warwick, Lou Rawls, Glenn Campbell, Blind Faith, many more for only $2.99. Supplies are limited, so hurry over and save during Woolworth Stereo Spectacular 71.
Thank you for shopping, Woolworth. It's the fun place to shop.
Got your parachute?
I forgot it.
How about the Wilkins coffee?
I forgot that too.
You'll never forget this.
This is going to be the kissingest Valentine's Day ever, because Scope Mouthwash is going to give away millions of free samples and coupons to make this a Valentine's Day to remember. You see, Scope, first thing in the morning, makes your breath feel fresher for hours. And after Valentine's Day, keep buying Scope. Who says the kissing has to end on Valentine's Day? Scope. Once in the morning does.
Throughout history, many have planned to dominate the world by torture, terror, and unscrupulous cunning. But none was so ruthless as the woman they called Sumeru.
So now tell me what you want.
You. At the moment, we need a man for a specific task.
And if I refuse?
Then you will be killed. In the war against mankind to achieve our aim, a world ruled by women.
Sumeru, the beautiful brain behind a dream that becomes a nightmare for any man who crosses her.
Listen, whoever you are, get out of here. Get out of here while you can. She's mad!
These are the lovely ladies of Sumeru's court. To meet them is fascinating. To know them, fatal. Frankie Avalon, George Nader.
Look at me. Whatever else I am. I am a woman.
Oh, yes, yes.
Shirley Eaton as Sumeru.
My lady. Oh, no.
Late date? I didn't even like her when she was alive.
Guest star Wilfred Hyde White, Klaus Kinski.
Tell me something. What's a rotten little girl like you doing in a nice business like this anyway?
Why do you hate me? I'm just a girl like any other.
Any other what? Scorpion?
And introducing Maria Rom.
Frankie Avalon and Casey Kasem in The Million Eyes of Sumeru. I swear, Frank Nader looks like Casey Kasem. I will also point out that movie trailer was a request. Somebody requested that I include that in an upcoming brief intermission. There you go. There you have it. All right. Also have an interesting little tidbit about Frankie Avalon. So, Frankie Avalon at one point saw David Letterman, this is before Letterman had a TV show, doing stand-up, and he walked out on the act. And I guess when he walked out, he made sure that people knew he was walking out on the act. So David Letterman never had Frankie Avalon on any of his shows. Never had him as a guest. And I guess Frankie Avalon's agent tried to get him on The Late Show or whatever once. He was promoting a movie that he was in. And his agent was told he will never be on any show that's hosted by David Letterman, because Letterman never forgot. Good for David Letterman. There you go. Up yours, Frankie Avalon. Alrighty. So tonight we're going to dive on in. We're going to take a look at Level Up Advanced 5th Edition Monstrous Menagerie Volume 2 Hordes and Heroes from EN Publishing. This 311-page hardcover carries an MSRP of $70. It is available now. If you want to grab just the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $27.49. Let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the Monstrous Menagerie II. Few things to mention before we get stuck in. First of all, the fine folks over at EN Publishing were kind enough to provide me with this review copy, but neither I nor anyone else affiliated with the Gaming Gang has received any other sort of compensation for me to share this first look with you. These days, it's important you know that. We're also not going to look at each and every page of the book. I do want to give you a really good feel for what you're going to find inside. Lastly, I also have to point out, I do not have like the Level Up core books or the Level Up starter set. I know we took a peek at another release for Level Up that EN Publishing had sent along, and I pointed this out then as well. So I understand that Level Up is supposed to be like a crunchier 5e. It's supposed to have a lot more tactical depth to it, I believe. But as far as Level Up itself, I have no experience with the actual core mechanics for it. Oh, so Pete Strakowitz is talking about they were going to start a new campaign tonight. And they got a call from work for an emergency meeting to discuss an ice raid at one of their child care centers. Oh, for Christ's sake. Yeah. You know, I got an email. I know, I'm shifting gears here. I won't shift gears for too long. I got an email from somebody who didn't appreciate me saying that Americans shouldn't be murdered in the streets. Now, remember, I didn't say who was doing the murdering. So I guess the person who bitched me out in an email is like pro murder in the streets. I was like, okay, whatever. It's like, geez. I don't know. There are some people out there, a real piece of work. Real piece of work. All right. Anyway, let's take a look at the back here. Monstrous Hordes and Heroes. Following up on the acclaimed Monstrous Menagerie II, Electric Boogaloo offers hundreds of new monsters for your Level Up Advanced 5th Edition or other 5e compatible game. I don't know, like Dungeons and Dragons, right? Whether your adventuring party is clearing up a low-level gremlin infestation or hacking their way through devilish legions to face the lords of hell themselves, Monstrous Menagerie II offers threats calibrated to test every party. Very nice. All right. So first thing we'll do is take a peek at the credits page. A lot of folks worked very hard to bring this to life. So let's give it credit where credit is due. The lead designer on this is Paul Hughes. We also have some additional designers here. Of course, we've got a lot of artists as well. All right. Hey, there's the artwork I'm using as the thumbnail. So we got an introduction, then we get into our monsters. It looks like we've got some appendices as well with horde monsters, heroic monsters, conditions, stat blocks by challenge rating, stat blocks by name, as well as compatibility. All right. I believe there's supposed to be over 300 entries here. Monstrous Menagerie II is a bestiary for Level Up Advanced 5th Edition. It's one of those sequels that can stand on its own. In order to use it, you don't need Monstrous Menagerie or indeed anything else from the Level Up line. Any required rules are reprinted in this book. Oh, that's nice. While Monstrous Menagerie included a lot of new takes on traditional monsters, Monstrous Menagerie II includes hundreds of brand new monsters, twists on old ones, and new rules, concepts to expand the possibilities of gameplay. So we have hordes, we've got heroes, epic villains. Talking about our monster entries, we'll get a description, legends and lore, sample encounters and treasure. Monster signs. It says often an encounter occurs with no warning. A group of characters stumbles into a group of monsters. Sometimes, though, characters come upon a sign of impending danger. Perhaps they see a footprint or hear an ominous distant wail. Clues like this allow characters to make interesting exploration decisions and make the world feel lived in. All right. So just giving us a breakdown of all the different sections, it looks like, in each entry. Oh. That artwork's kind of... Sorry. I'm just being honest. All right, so we had angels. I will actually read a few of the entries that we've got here. Shield Warden. An Arch Lich. Behemoths. Penitent Mantis. That's pretty cool. The rest of the artwork looks really cool. Wrathstorm Boar. Seeing if anything jumps out at me. Body bags. Jeez. It's a parasitic ooze. Carsines. Cloakers. Few subterranean creatures spark more speculation than cloakers. Their origins and goals are unknown, although both are believed to be sinister. Though they understand language, cloakers rarely speak to other creatures, except perhaps to predict a time when light will fail and the cloakers will ascend from their caves. While most cloakers of Underland are solitary, they are never out of contact with each other. Their low-pitched moans let them communicate over distances of 100 miles or more. Wow, okay. While they share information about their hunting grounds and the travelers passing through them, they also exchange long reminiscences about a time when the world had no sun and the cloakers feasted on the surface. Remember the good old days? So a little nostalgia here. All right, Pete Zraklich is off and running to go begin his Denard campaign. So we have Cloaker Encounters. We've got the Lantern Bearer. We have the Cloak of Night. Got a couple of there. We have Cogs. Deathless Legionnaire. Wonder if he carries Legionnaire's disease. Devils. I guess we have a few pages devoted to that. Maybe not. Oh, yeah, maybe. Yeah, here's an archdevil here. Looks like we have got a couple of bookmarks. Nicely done. Except for that one piece of art. It looks like the artwork throughout is really nicely done. Got some different dragons. There are quite a few different dragons here. Spirit dragons. Dragon hatchlings. Elementals. So it appears that we do have some categories, essentially. Like here we've got fungus. The cave trawler. Floating in the darkness, the cave trawler resembles a mossy jellyfish. It uses its long, sticky tendrils to scoop up unsuspecting creatures. Cave trawlers instinctively avoid fire and won't approach within 10 feet of a torch or lantern. They are flammable. Guess that's why they don't want to get close to open flame. The cave trawler floats motionless 10 feet or more off the ground. When it detects a medium or smaller creature, it makes an ensnaring grasp attack and flies upward to devour its prey in safety. Bum, bum, bum. Giant ant soldier. Got the gremlin. Gremlins are tiny goblin-like creatures that delight in tinkering with tools from the most complex mechanism to a simple sword or hammer or aircraft. Kind of covered this last night, right? These were gremlins in the Player's Guide 2 for Kobold Press for Tales of the Valiant we were taking a peek at. A non-working machine or tool is often said to be cursed by gremlins, and indeed, items touched by a wild gremlin almost always suffer from the attention. Gremlins usually travel in packs, working together to infest a broken machine, trap, or junk pile. They gravitate towards novelty. They will happily abandon their current playthings to sneak into the gear of passing adventurers. While gremlins delight in disassembling devices, they are just as happy when fixing something broken. However, if it runs out of things to fix, even a tame gremlin will turn its attention to disassembly and sabotage. Gremlins are most often found in the material world and on the ethereal plane. Gremlins can be magically summoned from other planes and even invested into magic trinkets, such as a finder gremlin. A summoned gremlin works steadily and industriously. So we get some legends and lore. So it looks like the player characters can attempt to know these things. So it looks like DC 15, gremlins are tiny, mischievous creatures from the ethereal plane. And then we've got our stat block. And then we've got a variant, the gremlin. Kevin King is pointing out there's minimal art in the margins, headings, callouts, fonts. The layout mimics Wizards of the Coast, as opposed to much prettier Paizo / Battle Zoo / Kobold approaches. I'm fine with it. Sometimes I will point out when we have stuff in the borders, usually it's fine, but there have been occasions where some of the border artwork to me is just a little over the top. The Isken. Got Mephits. The Mimic. Adventurers who survive an encounter with the Mimic often grow complacent When searching for treasure, be wary of chests and objects of similar size. In fact, mimics can come in sizes as small as a jewelry box to as large as a colossal statue. While mimics have no natural appreciation for beauty, they tend to surround themselves with jewelry, paintings, and other art objects. A statue can make a fine decoy or lure, and a mimic maw can even lurk inside the statue's smile. The Stonehold Ogre. These gray-skinned ogres have been infused with and transformed by elemental stone. Their oversized fists are made of living granite, and the ground shakes beneath their weighty tread. As they weaken and approach death, Stonehold ogres become increasingly durable, eventually transforming into immobile statues of solid stone. Stonehold ogres have no fear of death unless facing an enemy that has demonstrated an ability to deal force or thunder damage. They focus their attacks on such enemies, knowing they're unlikely to outrun a determined foe. Stonehold ogres that fight together are highly protective of one another. And then we have the Ogre Ram Skull. It's the highest honor to wear the skull of a giant ram into battle. Such an ogre has survived many battles, and its skin is hardened by countless scars. As a result, ram skull ogres prosper within their tribes, eating as much as their prodigious appetites demand, and growing well beyond the stature of their less esteemed kin. These look pretty cool. Oozing doom. Reborn gods. So we have Gloriana. As Queen of the Gods, Gloriana once held court from atop her radiant throne, dispensing blessings and justice to deities and mortals alike. Banished by younger upstart gods for millennia, she languished in the dark void beyond the heavens, where she dwelled on thoughts of hatred and revenge. When restored to her true power, she vowed she would use her divine sunlight to blast the world into a sterile desert, and geez, thanks a lot, preserving only a small area of earthly paradise where her loyal subjects could bask in her presence. Warren Davidson says, don't spill water on the gremlins page. Yeah, we talked about that last night. Don't feed them after midnight. So they are an elite, legendary, large celestial, challenge rating of 22. So these are some of the reborn gods. The Scar. When the cosmos was young and the power of creation was strong, gods made all that they desired: planes, stars, people, and magic itself. But not all gods were wise or kind, and things were created that should not be. Impossible worlds burned, and from their ashes rose the Scar, a hunger, a corruption, a contagion on the cosmos itself. Rejecting their abominable creation, the gods imprisoned the Scar on the wasteland, a planar garbage dump where forgotten and unwanted things are drawn towards a hole in reality known as the Gyre. So I guess it's the island of misfit toys. Well. Even there, the Scar has survived for uncounted eons. But at least it remains contained. The Scar must be contained. Well, I guess they get out. The Sleepless. They're gargantuan fae. Spiders, here we go. This would be my best friend Elliot Miller's favorite section of the book. The ghost spider is made of thousands of undead arachnids that fight as a unified group. Victims of death spiders often fall from self-inflicted wounds made in a frantic attempt to escape the spectral hunters. Yeah. The fate-touched spider. Fate is a tangled skein, and many believe its strands are spun by spiders. Occasionally, fate chooses a spider as a nexus of destiny, transforming it into a fate-touched spider. Often chosen, I should say, to defend a holy relic or to aid or assassinate a meddling band of heroes. You'd have got away with it too. If it weren't for those meddling heroes. Fate-touched spiders rarely travel. They know where they are meant to be in order to fulfill the purpose that awaits them. All right. A tome grub. They consume magic and destroy spellbooks with their voracious hunger. A vile urchin. A whisper. If you've ever had a song stuck in your head, you might have been brushed by a whisper. It's not certain. Whispers usually move on quickly unless they're hungry, but it's certainly possible. Incorporeal creatures evidenced only by the sounds they produce, whispers are uncanny killers, remarkably hard to identify. Despite the fear that they engender, however, whispers aren't necessarily hostile. When healthy, they feed on creativity in a symbiotic manner, inspiring and being inspired in equal parts. It's only when they're upset, sick, or disturbed by evil magics that they turn lethal. The origins of whispers remain a mystery. Some claim they evolved naturally when humanoids first began to create art and music. Others argue they represent an extension of the same power that bards channel. Still, others describe whispers as a magical anomaly with no definitive source. Most people aren't even certain that whispers exist. After all, it's hard to understand what you can't see. Ooh, we got some zombies. The Death Maw, a creation of only the most sadistic necromancer. Death Maws have had most of their face reshaped and filled with oversized teeth harvested from other creatures. Well, that sounds fun. As a result, their bite is especially deadly, capable of breaking bone or rending limbs. Cthulhu asks, if the whispers were clumsy, would they be careless whispers? Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. Everybody's a comedian, right? Cthulhu points out there was a Gloriana who ruled the Grand Duchy of Fenwick in the book and movie The Mouse That Roared. There is also, I want to say it's a Michael Moorcock novel called Gloriana. And I want to say it's an Eternal Champion story, but it's not, I don't think it's like Elric or Coram. I think it's Jerry Cornelius, if I remember correctly. Right, so here we've got our appendices. So this is Appendix A, Horde Monsters. So it's giving you a breakdown of creating your own horde monsters and using a damage pool rather than tracking damage to every individual creature or what have you in that. So it looks like quite a bit devoted to that. Then we have heroic monsters. Sometimes you acquire a kobold companion or wolf pet and you want it to stay with you forever and ever. Will you stay with me forever and ever, kobold friend? Other times you meet a worthy adversary and you know you'll meet them again. And when you do, they'll be more powerful than ever. Just as a monster can be an elite monster or a horde monster, it can be or become a heroic monster. A heroic monster has the capability for advancement. With the heroic monster system, monsters gain capabilities that let them continue to participate meaningfully in the game as the party gains levels. Acting as allies, pets, enemies, druidic, wild shapes, or full characters. Why not play as a sentient owlbear if you have the chance? When a monster improves, it gains monster levels. A monster with levels is called a heroic monster. At the narrator's discretion, any non-elite, non-horde monster can gain monster levels. In addition, this appendix provides a few dozen pre-built heroic monsters, including many that are useful as animal companions, steeds, and rivals. Some monsters can gain up to 20 levels, while others, usually the party's pets or assistants, can only gain 10. That's nice. It's giving us a table of their advancement there. And some of the companions, like a bear, heroic cleric. So in some ways, some of these characters would be hirelings or henchmen. Then we got different conditions. So it's giving us the breakdown of the different conditions in Level Up. And stat blocks by challenge. And by name. There we go. Very nice. So that is a peek inside Level Up Advanced 5th Edition Monstrous Menagerie Volume 2, Hordes and Heroes from EN Publishing. Once again, this is available now. This carries an MSRP of $70. If you grab the PDF, you can do so over at DriveThruRPG for $27.49. I will have a review of this in the future. All right. So that is it for tonight's show. Next week, I should point out, I do have is it the Forest Savage coming from Chaosium Inc. for Pendragon? Or is it I'm trying to remember if the book it might be the Adventure Sauvage or Sauvage. So I know it features the Forest Savage or Sauvage, however you want to pronounce it, for Pendragon. So that is on its way. It's shipped out. So I will have it next week. So one night next week, we will be doing a first look at that. On Monday, I won't have a show. So there you go. On Monday, I'll probably be freezing my ass off still in the Chicago area because that's how it's going to be. We're talking about it's going to be like the second week of February before we kind of shake off some of this below freezing temperatures. I don't like the cold. Never have. That's why I lived in Arizona for rental about 15 years in total. Anyway, on Tuesday's show, we are going to do some third-party Shadow Dark releases, which are from RPG Ramblings Publishing or publication, I should say. So I already told you we're going to take a look at Dark Visions and then its follow-up, The Tower of Six. I think we're actually going to take a look at the Devoured Labyrinth as well, because these are all for Shadow Dark. And these aren't real thick. So I think we will do a RPG Ramblings show, and we'll take a look at these 3 Shadow Dark releases. And then we will also probably take a peek at Oz from Andrew Kolb. So that will be on the agenda. Once again, it always depends on what shows up. Now, one of our friends of the show provided the funds to pick up the 3 Andrew Kolb books. So it's not like this is a review copy that was sent to me by a publisher or an author. So if other stuff comes in, it'll kind of probably get pushed back to the week after. But Tuesday's show, we'll be taking a look at that. One of the shows we'll be taking a look at the new Pendragon book from Chaosium Inc. that's supposed to be arriving in stores. I think it's next week. I think it's one of the books that's slated to arrive on the 4th of February. There's quite a few things coming out, slated to come out on the 4th of February. All righty. So if you're watching live, thank you very much. If you watch live and took part in chat, you get a tip of the cap. Because not only are you keeping me company, you're also keeping each other company while I'm sharing the news or paging on through a book. But I know a lot of folks out there, you don't have an opportunity to watch live. Doesn't matter if you're watching live or on Memorex. Thank you for taking time out to watch any of the videos here on the Gaming Gang channel. And of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com, where you're going to find a whole lot of news and reviews you won't see here on YouTube. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. If you like the video, give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you have subscribed, be sure that you ring that notification bell, because it'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday evenings right here on YouTube. It's also supposed to notify you if you select all notifications whenever I share a video, such as my recent review of, where am I going to point? What am I going to point at? The 2300 AD box set from Mongoose Publishing. Yes, if you haven't checked it out, take a peek. Take a peek. All right, everybody, enjoy the rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is in your neck of the woods. Have a great weekend. I will be back on Tuesday. Hopefully it'll be a little bit warmer. Tonight wasn't too bad. It wasn't like Tuesday where I was like, oh my God, it's cold down here. I'm like slamming my feet under the table here during the brief intermission, trying to get, some sensation back in. Anyway, thank you very kindly for watching. I'm Jeff McAleer, and as always, I hope each and every one of you gets to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang.